Before we get started on circular saws, one thing I want to talk about with a circular saw, they really can kick up a lot of sawdust and chips of wood. Safety glasses are a must.
Always, okay.
Next thing you want to look at the saw is there is a guard here that protects the blade when the saw is not being used. But it also protects you, the operator, when the saw is being used. I've seen people tape these up.
Okay.
What happens when you let go of that trigger, the saw may be off, but the blade could still be spinning. You drop it down, it could cut your leg.
Okay.
It's very dangerous. Leave them alone.
Great, some things to think about. Let's talk about the different types. Now this guy, you folks often call a worm drive.
Worm drive or gear driven, correct. This motor spins this way and the blade spins this way, so there's a gear in there.
Okay.
All right, this is called a sidewinder.
Sure.
Sidewinder is direct drive. The motor spins this way and so does the blade.
Okay, so worm drive, sidewinder, and then we've got left-handed and right-handed?
Right, it's a matter of preference. Which saw do you like to use? Which saw do you feel more comfortable with? A left-handed or a right-handed?
Great, and of course we've got lots of choices when it comes to the blade.
Blades are very important. The most important thing to know about a blade is to make sure that it is sharp. This is a carbide tip blade. This is a very thin blade.
Right, so and it's a thin kerf, right?
That's what it's called. The kerf of the blade is the thickness. Very thin, stay sharp combination.
How about this guy?
This is a diamond impregnated blade for cutting tile, concrete blocks, foundations,
Gotcha.
anything that's masonry. This is a fine tooth blade. It is for cutting veneers on plywood.
And this guy?
This is a carborundum. A carborundum blade, depending on which one you choose, will cut masonry or steel.
All right, let's make some cuts.
All right, let's start with a real basic cut, a cross cut, when you go across the grain.
Okay.
First, we're going to draw a reference line to follow. We're going to cut it with a saw. Let's pick a saw.
Here's a worm drive for you.
Let me put my safety glasses on. First thing I want to do is I want to line up my reference of the saw with the line.
A little V
line up
there.
my blade with the line. Bring my speed square to the line. I want to place the saw on the wasted side of the line. Back off slightly. Make a cut.
And then you sped up at the end there just a little bit.
I did that so that I wouldn't get kickback from this piece falling.
That's a cross cut. Let's make a rip.
Okay, let's set up. A rip cut is when you're cutting with the grain or the length of a board. And I'm going to cut down this piece of plywood 6 inches wide. So the first thing I need to do is put a mark at 6 inches on one end, 6 inches on the other end. I'm going to measure the side of the blade to the side of the base plate. I know that's 1.5 inches offset. I'm going to put a reference here, 1.5 inches back on this end and that end. Now to give the saw something straight to follow, I've chosen a piece of MDF and I've taken the factory edge because it's nice and straight, no dips.
Okay.
I'm going to take that board and clamp it to our 1.5 inch mark.
I'll get this side for you.
All right.
All right, I'm nice and tight.
And this one is too. Okay, now slide it over. Next thing I want to do is I want to set the height of the blade. I want the blade to just go through the material about 1/8 of an inch.
And by raising that blade up, we're going to have a little bit more control when we make this long cut.
Right. Now, I simply turn the saw on, following the edge of this, keeping the base plate tight to it.
Okay. Nice work, Tommy. 2 cuts, pretty simple, but pretty important.
It's very important you've got the basics, and that'll get you started.
Thanks, Tommy.